This video is brought to you by Whipster. What's cooking, everybody? Dave Mays here with Kinotika, and today we're talking about the new RX100 Mark VII, the almost perfect pocket camera. And by the way, we're doing a giveaway if you haven't submitted your entry yet. Link is in the description below. Good luck to you. Merry Christmas. Click the link if you haven't already. 4K continuous recording, versatile flip screen, mic input, 120 frames per second, 1080p with autofocus and audio, built-in EVF, and a 24 to 200 millimeter equivalent lens, and it all fits in your pocket. Enter the RX100 Mark VII. This camera sounds pretty perfect, doesn't it? The RX100 VII has been out for a while, and I've had some time to collect my thoughts on it, as well as get some perspective, because I've been shooting a lot with the Canon G7X Mark III, which in my opinion is one of the biggest competitors to this camera, even though the zoom range isn't completely equal. Both cameras have a mic input, both have that amazing small size and flip up screen. Right off the bat, I need to say this so that Sony hears me. Please, Sony, make a special version of the Mark V that has the mic input and touch screen. That's what we want. The 24 to 70 zoom with the faster f1.8 aperture on the wide end and the built-in ND would have made this camera a much better camera to recommend to people and would almost instantly kill any chance of someone buying the G7X Mark III from Canon. Please do this and comment below if you agree with me. About a year ago, we reviewed the RX100 VI, and I felt it was a great camera, but the lack of a mic jack and the slower aperture zoom was a turn off for me. Well, now with the RX100 VII, we do have one of those two things that I wanted to see, the mic jack. Some of the base specs are the same as the previous generation. This camera comes with the same 20.1 megapixel, 1-inch BSI CMOS sensor. I don't know what BSI stands for, but it sounds like BS. This camera comes with a Zeiss lens that can go from 2.8 to 4.5 on the zoom range. That means when you're all the way zoomed out to 24 millimeters, you get 2.8, and then when you zoom in to 200, you're at f4.5. That's right, f4.5 on the tight end on a 1-inch sensor camera. Not good. It's not good. But you know what is good? Our sponsor today, Whipster. Whipster is a place where you can easily collaborate with multiple people to make awesome videos and remove the headaches of multiple Dropbox links, private Vimeo URLs, and massive threads of emails. This video that you're watching right now wasn't only edited by me, it was also edited by Jake. Jake lives about an hour away from me, and sometimes it's just not worth it for us to meet up and just sit in a room together and edit. So now what we are going to start doing is use this app, Whipster, to collaborate better. Jake can actually take his foundational edit and send that over to me on the Whipster link. I can then make notes and suggestions on things he should cut or take out. The cool thing if you are a Premiere editor is you can do all of this built into Adobe Premiere and never have to leave your editing app. You can even export straight to Whipster inside of Premiere and see all the notes and changes right there in your editor. There are also other apps that Whipster can be used on as well that are really incredible. Client revisions, multiple version documentation, and even final delivery can all be done here on Whipster. And if you use my link in the description below, you'll get a free 14-day trial of the Epic Team Plan where you can upload up to 250 gigabytes of HD footage and start building better workflows. And after the trial is up, you can choose to pay to continue your plan or switch to the free plan, which gives you access to your footage up to 5 gigabytes. There's nothing to lose here, just a better workflow solution. Give Whipster a try and click the first link down in the description. The thing that really is the upgrade here is the improved image processor. The updated sensor design is all about speed and enables blackout-free continuous shooting up to 20 frames per second for easier subject tracking. 20 frames per second continuous shooting with an incredible eye detect autofocus. You can do even higher than that with a 90 frames per second 7-frame burst speed. Here's the video specs. 1080p at 24 frames per second to 120 frames per second, 4K at 24 to 30 frames per second, and Sony does crop in a little bit in the 4K mode, and 120 frames per second in 1080 has audio and tracking autofocus. That may seem like a no-brainer for a camera to have, but most cameras in this price point don't have audio attached to slow motion like 120 frames per second, and they certainly don't have any type of tracking autofocus in those modes. So that alone could be a huge huge deal for you if you're a video shooter, keeping an RX100 in your pocket just for slow motion shooting. The RX series cameras is also known for having crazy slow motion in higher frame rate modes, and the RX series is also known for even higher frame rates than 120 frames per second, and this one is no slouch, coming in at 240 frames per second in the high frame rate mode, 480 frames per second, and 960 frames per second in the high frame rate modes. Now, these modes definitely lose a lot of quality, and I can talk more about that, and you can see the B-roll of that. And these high frame rate modes also have no autofocus or any sound. In my opinion, the 240 frames per second mode is the lowest quality that I feel comfortable using and wouldn't go any further than that. But honestly, the 120 frames per second mode with the autofocus is what I'm gonna go for 99% of the time when I'm using this camera. For video, you get an active stabilization mode now. It does a minor crop, but uses the optical image stabilization in the lens and does its own electronic stabilization to make it work. It specifically helps with footsteps, and when you're walking with the camera, it actually gets a lot of those shakes out that you normally see with tiny little cameras like this. Now, straight out of the box, the RX100 VII has a 5-minute 4K recording limit in the standard mode, but if you switch the camera into high in the auto power off setting, you can actually record for a long time. However, it is actually getting really hot. Sony says it's not doing any damage to the camera, it just might become uncomfortable for users. So if you put the camera on a tripod or a GorillaPod and you're not actually touching the camera itself, then you're gonna be fine. And again, Sony has reassured us that it's not doing any damage to the camera, but in this high mode, you can actually continuously record until your card fills up or until the battery dies, which is great. You have all the picture profiles, including HLG and S-Log3 on this camera. But there's some really great cages now from SmallRig, and some allow for both a boom mic and also the Rode Wireless Go to be perfectly mounted onto the camera. These are really clever, and I think this is a perfect pair for somebody who wants to vlog with this camera. This camera has the same batteries as the older cameras, and it has no neutral density filter built in like the RX100 VII and the 5A, which is so handy dandy when you're trying to get the perfect shutter speed for your video. You can buy some little sticky adapters that go on the front of the lens, but I wouldn't trust that, and it's kind of a pain using something that's not native to the system. USB micro, no USB-C. Come on, Sony, we need freaking USB-C in all cameras. That's what I'm telling you right now. Come on, Jesus is king. Let's go. USB-C, baby. The A6000 line still hasn't been updated either, and I want to please get out of this USB micro world. It's driving me batty. I just want to have USB-C cables, and that's it in my bag. Come on, guys. If you're releasing a new camera and it doesn't have USB-C and it's using an old standard like USB micro, get out of here. So here's what I think the RX100 VII is gonna be best for. Home video and photo better than your phone because of that zoom range and autofocus performance. Also, I prefer a real camera over a phone anyways. Secondly, I think this camera is for vloggers who want the most versatile pocket camera. The G7X Mark III is great from Canon, but even with the new firmware update, the autofocus isn't very reliable at all. Colors are better on a Canon in my opinion, but Sony has gotten better for sure, and it's definitely not terrible anymore. Just Canon still looks much better in my opinion. I do not recommend this camera if you are primarily a stills shooter. I think you have much better options for less money, unless that 20 frames per second shooting is appealing to you. I think a Ricoh GR3 or a Fuji X100 would be a much more enjoyable photography tool. If you must have that super zoom, I guess this is good. I just don't really love the image quality coming off of this and was always wanting more. Maybe that's just because I'm so used to full frame and larger sensor cameras, but I think it has a lot to do with that aperture and the quality of the sensor itself. It's just kind of noisy having a tiny sensor and zooming in all the way at f4.5. Here's a funny point. I think this is actually like a reality show dream camera. You could actually shoot an entire show on this one camera. For real. Have you ever noticed that those TV shows have like almost no depth of field and super crazy zoom? This is like a pocket reality TV show camera. And while we're on the topic of long zoom, this would also be great for a journalist who wants to take photos for the dying newspaper industry. The price is really the biggest turnoff for this thing. For the same price, you could get a real large sensor camera. Heck, even a full frame mirrorless now. You would only buy this if you know you need something something like this in your kit. Don't get it just to casually have in your bag. Buy an older model for half the price if you just want something casual. The RX100 VII or the 5A, in my opinion, would be a better purchase for somebody who just wants a casual shooter because you have a faster aperture at f1.8 and a built-in ND filter. But definitely consider buying this if you want the best pocket vlog camera. Sony should rename this camera to the Sony Vlogger Pro or something like that. It's really amazing for those types of people, in my opinion. I just wish that somebody would make a version of this camera with a wider focal length, like a 20 to 70 millimeter, or even a 16 to 35 equivalent zoom. Can you imagine a little pocket camera with a wide angle zoom on it? Oh, that'd be so cool. Or to make everything better, why don't they just take the RX100 VII and just make it full frame instead? That'd be easy, right? What are your thoughts on the RX100 Mark VII? Is it a good camera to you? Is it something that you're gonna use? Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts. And again, a reminder to submit your entry to win the DJI Mavic Mini with our Christmas contest below. It's in the description, click it. And again, thank you to Whipster. Use my link in the description below. You'll get a free 14-day trial of the Epic Team Plan where you can upload up to 250 gigabytes of HD footage and start building better workflows. Once again, I'm Dave Mays, this is Kinotika, and we'll see you next time.